Batman Analog Horror, Part 2? Whoa! Sorry, I should be more serious. So there's 4 more videos since we last explored this analog horror, which if you want to check them out first, the links to the channel OBlIvIon is in the description. Now, if you haven't watched Part 1, I recommend watching it, and if you already did, I'll give you a brief refresher. Batman, or the Bat, who is Bruce Wayne, went down the deep end after his parents' deaths, and rather than being a heroic vigilante who doesn't kill, he's one who's willing to kill any bad guy and even civilians, which made Gotham go on high alert. In addition to that, Bruce likely did experiments on himself, which made him become a twisted supernatural being, and he's been kidnapping children and brainwashing them in his Batcave in hopes to recruit them into a sick vigilante family, and at some point the Bat was assumed to be dead. That's a lot, I know. But anyways, this is where I left off the series. In Part 1, I concluded with theories of Alfred being gone or a potential shoulder devil to Bruce, and that one day the sidekick children will revolt against the Bat. Were my theories correct, or was I just being a little weird? In order to find out what truly happened, let's jump right into the story. And as always, my name is Estrella. Let's explore. Prisoner, 1962 Batman Analog Horror. The video opens with a message from Jason Todd, who, if you forgot, was in the list of names found in the Batcave by who I assumed to be Timothy Drake when he went down to investigate. Jason was also one of the missing children and who I assumed to be put through experiments by the Bat because of the bat symbol that appeared over his face. But anyways, we're going to be told his story, what happened to the others, and what are the Bat's motivations. We even see a photo of his kidnapper, who we already know is the Bat. Now, Jason explains that he's always stuck in the horrible parts of Gotham because his father abandoned him and his mother, which led to his mother getting on drugs and overdosing, so he's left alone to provide for himself. And while in the sketchy parts of Gotham, he has to steal car parts to sell and make any money he could. But one night, he spotted a strange car. It looked like it was worth a lot, so Jason thought he hit the jackpot. But when he started to unscrew the wheels, suddenly someone knocked him out. He was then tied, gagged, and placed in that car, and later when he eventually woke up, he found himself in a cave, specifically in a locked cell with other people. And despite the situation, he briefly befriended someone, Richard or Dick Grayson. Sadly, their friendship was short-lived, since he was apparently one of the first to turn. So experiments are being done! I knew it. Anyways, the Bat is using a drug which is a modified version of a substance known as venom. And if you don't know what that is, venom is a highly addictive compound that was engineered to significantly multiply one's physical strength. A common user of venom was Bane. Yeah, that one. Haha. But it's different. And Jason Todd, who's our narrator, was the last to go through that procedure despite not being the last one captured, and we get told something interesting. Catwoman, that sexy thief lady who the Bat has the hots for, went before Jason, but she attempted to fight, and in the end she was, well, taken down and, taken away. Damn, so being the last one left since apparently another prisoner managed to get out earlier, it was now Jason's turn. He was tied up in a chair, and during the setup, the Bat told him a bit about himself. He mentioned a butler named Alfred. Wait! Please don't break my heart here. Okay, I'm not ready, but I am. Okay. So the Bat explains how Alfred was like a father to him after his parents' deaths, but sadly, he died a few weeks later after his parents' funeral due to a stroke. No! Bruh. The Bat then asked Jason about his family, assuming he has one, to which Jason admits he doesn't anymore, which made the Bat freeze. Oh? Could he be feeling sympathetic since they both have dead parents? Anyways, the Bat asked Jason to join him to rid Gotham of criminals, to which Jason tells the Bat that he needs to get help, while calling him a lunatic. Which is true, but bro, you're not exactly in a favorable situation to run your mouth. And because of this response, fear toxin gas was released, which, if you don't know what that is, it induces an intense and often irrational fear, which can cause those exposed to it to go permanently insane or indirectly cause death. But luckily, the restraints were removed, so Jason was able to run. However, it felt like he was being followed. Then suddenly, something attached to him and tried pulling him back. It was like a rope, and Jason soon grabbed the closest and sharpest object he could find, which, coincidentally, was the shape of a bat, and he used it to cut himself free. That's great, but he was clearly still being chased, and when he looked back, he realized that the Bat doesn't look like how he did before. Regardless, Jason pushed his way towards the exit, and surprisingly, the Bat stopped once he was out. Then suddenly, rumbling could be heard once he was completely out, and the house, blew up. Yay! The cops then arrived and questioned Jason and asked him to draw what he saw. And this is the drawing! Bro is talented, what the frick? Also, red text flashed on the screen which says, "I see you." How charming. Now, I just want to say, I was right! Since Alfred was taken out of the picture, that's what led to Bruce going down a dark path. No moral compass, meaning insanity. Whoa, I shouldn't be this excited because I did got one thing wrong, which was my theory about Jason. As I mentioned before, I assumed he was one of these successful experiments, however, it turns out he just got away in the end. So, good on him, I guess. And here's my quick 2 cents before continuing. Again, I could just be biased because Batman is my favorite superhero, but I find it interesting how human he seems in this analog horror, despite the fact that he's, losing his humanity. There's clearly still good in him, just twisted. He can still have crushes on people like Catwoman, feel grief for past loved ones like Alfred, and he can still feel sympathetic for people like Jason. These little things make it seem like there's a chance for redemption, but who knows? He's already in too deep, and I really doubt that, there's no saving him. Okay, let's just keep going. Owl Hijack, 1963, Batman Analog Horror. It's a pretty short video that opens with an old yet cheerful Coca-Cola commercial that then abruptly switches to visuals of people in masks, a room, and other strange things along with a message that reads, "Send the talons for the bat's head." Ooh. Now if you're lost, don't worry, so am I. However, after turning to the comments, this apparently connects to something called the Court of Owls, which I'm slacking on my DC comics because I had no clue what that was. So the Court of Owls is a violent cabal of some of Gotham City's eldest and wealthiest families who use murder and money to wield political influence throughout history to carry out their interest, and they employ a breed of highly trained assassins known as talons. Honestly, it sounds really cool, and I'm surprised that I've only heard about this now and from an analog horror of all things. Speaking of which, for this series, rather than being antagonists, they might be the heroes of the story if they're going after the Bat. That's pretty interesting, so let's keep going. Crime, 63, Batman Analog Horror. In this video, we learn that crimes have risen since the Bat was presumed to be dead, and specifically, there are new and different types of criminals, one of which is a more noteworthy one because they're the worst. This criminal has killed over 30 people during the last few years, and it's none other than the Joker. If you forgot, during the Bat incident video, we learned that the Bat has killed so many villains while leaving one patient alive, but as of this moment, that video we covered in part 1 is now outdated. However, what I believe remains the same is that the Bat broke into Arkham and potentially went on a killing spree and only left Joker alive. That seems all the same. You understand? Great. Now let's continue. Proceeding on with the video, we see the Joker's disturbing face and learn that he's the main factor to why the murder toll has risen significantly. One reason for the murders is to specifically target rival gangs, but he's also targeted the homeless, and other crimes he might have done involved throwing chemicals at the mayor. Ouch! And briefly appearing on the screen, we see red text, which we could probably assume has a connection to the Bat, and it reads, "He's always watching." We then go on to learn that the Joker leaves the victims' corpses with a smile or something related to the Bat, almost like a trademark. For example, these drawings of the Bat, and one of them which says, "It's always watching." Additionally, we also get told that a few of the Joker's victims were the Waynes, and since that day that the Joker killed the Bat's parents, he's been stalked and tormented, but never killed. As for the police, they don't get involved because they're likely corrupt and have relations with different crime lords, but besides that, protests, looting, and other crimes are continuing to rise along with the murders. Also, remember when I mentioned that acid was thrown at the mayor's face? It resulted in him going mad, and people are starting to celebrate. It's crazy, man. You can probably guess how chaotic it is in Gotham, and we then get told that the residents made fun of that fake owl hijack thing that the news put on during a commercial, since they thought the Court of Owls were just an urban legend, which... damn. Anyways, at the moment, there's no more missing kids, however there's weird crazies on the streets, and no one is a fan of living in Gotham, however it's at least cheap. Always look at the bright side. We also get told that these messages are coming from Gordon, who admits that his daughter is dead, and he's going to retire and leave Gotham. But before he does, he wants to leave a message to those who are still living there. You better pray to your God, because only he can save you all now. Damn. Where's looking at the bright side, people? He also tells us that the Bat is not dead, and that he's watching right now. Speaking of which, we also see red text, "Watching you right now, not the Bat." Then suddenly there's knocking and the sound of laughter, which made me do a 360 in real life. I thought someone was actually knocking on my door, so hey, got me, you got me. I hate you. We also see a delightful, disturbing, smiling face before everything ends. Now, I'm more hung up on the comment about the owls potentially being fake, which made me a little sad, but who knows? Since the Bat is still out there, because it's hard to believe he's dead, maybe they can still get involved. But who we do know for certain will appear again is the Joker, since he's being kept alive. Maybe he's being marinated. The Bat is playing with his prey and such. And also the Bat is not the only one doing the stalking. Everyone in Gotham? Good luck. Anyways, let's proceed on to the next video. Sinners and Butchers, 1964, Batman Analog Horror. It opens with a message from someone who's not sure who they'll reach, and they're telling us that they don't know what to do and if there is an escape. The person just wants to go back to Switzerland, but the Order is trying to turn them into their Azrael, which they do go by that alias. However, they don't want to follow the Order. We then get told that people are starting to believe that the Bat has returned. However, crimes haven't stopped, and we then see his latest work. It's the Pig Butcher, who doesn't look too good. And apparently, this work is a replication of an old Morse ritual. But returning back to Azrael, they haven't spotted the Bat. However, they have seen glimpses of the missing children specifically. And it's strange that he hasn't seen the Bat himself, because others had seen him at least once, which we get shown photos of by witnesses, and he was even featured on TV shows. We then learn criminals are being killed, and also learn that 2 of the missing children were found dead, which the cause was from a cane. Duke and Helena were killed by a famous criminal. However, there's a handful of criminals who uses canes, so I don't know which one. But getting sidetracked, back to Azrael. They locked themselves in their home because they're being stalked by Dick Grayson, which we see a photo of him on the rooftop, and Azrael says that he's seen him a few times now. Azrael also witnessed Dick Grayson killing Mad Hatter and Victor, which you think would be a good thing, but the Bat and his Robins are doing more harm than good, and there are moments where they definitely cross the line. But anyways, Dick Grayson suddenly broke into Azrael's home and attacked them, but Azrael took him down first because obviously they don't want to die. And luckily, he was never caught for this because the blame was pinned on the Joker, so nice. Azrael then defends himself by saying that they did this in the name of God, and now they can fully take on the role of Azrael. Since then, Azrael successfully took down 2 criminals, and he will soon go after the Bat and make sure he stays dead because God will let them prevail. We then see text that needs to be translated, but going to the comment section, it turns out the creator got something wrong, and it's meant to say, I do no one's bidding but God's. It also says something along the lines, Mammon will fall with other sinners. Interesting. Anyways, who is Azrael? According to my Google search, he's a man named Jean-Paul Valley who goes on to take the identity of Azrael as a member of the Order, which is a group of assassins who bring justice to Gotham City. But he's not the only Azrael, because there's also this guy named Michael Washington Lane. Listen, I'm a nerd, but I'm not that big of a nerd as I used to be, so I'm not going to make myself look like an idiot by trying to explain the lore, and this is an analog horror, so it's going to be different from the canon anyways. So the identity of this person is still to be determined since they only told us the name Azrael, but I suspect that it has to be Jean-Paul. Anyways, what we do know for certain is that they might be the hero of the story since they have the goal to take down villains, including the Bat. Now ignore what I said about the canon not being important. In canon, Azrael took up the mantle of Batman, and here Azrael took up the mantle of being the hero Gotham desperately needs, which shows that they're at least an okay person. Maybe. So with that logic, clearly they have to be the hero, right? Anyways, this is the latest video in the series as of this recording, and let's now move on to the conclusion and my additional thoughts. Woo! Conclusion. Now, you would be a fool if you don't see the connections with religion in this series, especially after the latest video. And what I find so interesting is the text which says, Mammon will fall. If you don't know the significance to that, Mammon is one of the 7 deadly sins, and specifically the sin of greed, which is interesting since Batman, or technically Bruce, is known for his wealth. So with this connection, the Bat is being compared to Mammon, and his greed is pretty noticeable. But his greed is not for money, but with lives. He kidnaps children due to his desire for a family, and he likely believes he's justified with all the lives he's taking because he thinks he's justice. But in reality, he's just a twisted and evil individual who just wants what he wants, making him greedy. Then there's Azrael, who's clearly devoted to God and will do anything in his power to take the Bat down. Also, Azrael is actually the name of an angel, specifically God's angel of death, who has the responsibility of guiding souls to the afterlife and to take sinners' souls to hell. But in the context of this series, this Azrael will take those sinners to hell by killing them himself. So as I mentioned before, he's technically going to be the hero of this story. However, this won't be an easy task, since the Joker is crazier than ever and the Bat's brainwashed Robins are wandering the street. Azrael has a lot of work cut out for them, but with God's guidance, they might manage. But who knows, maybe they'll fail and die in this mission. That would be a downer. As for my additional thoughts, I hope the Court of Owls thing wasn't fake because it seems so cool. Sorry, I just really love the aesthetic. But they're a group of wealthy people, and if Gotham is turning into this terrible place, maybe they're just cutting their losses and running away like Gordon did. So yeah, maybe they won't be a thing, but I want them to be a thing. As for Jason, it's great he escaped when he could, but who knows how long it will take until he gets targeted. And I actually heard theories that he might be Azrael, but I think it's Jean-Paul. I also think it would just be much cooler if Jason and Azrael, work together, do the team up, I feel like that would be fire. Anyways, returning back to the bat. Shockingly, he has a bit of humanity to him as I mentioned before. He was sympathetic with Jason and has a liking towards Catwoman. So he's not completely a monster. Oh, well, actually no. Remember what he did to that butcher? It turns out the ritual done to them is a pretty brutal one, which involves breaking the spine and ribs and pulling out organs out from a person while they're still alive. So, why do I even bother trying to give him the benefit of a doubt? I just can't help myself, I guess. So Gotham is now this hellhole with corrupted and twisted people, and honestly, can it even be saved? Will Azrael and others potentially step up to be the heroes? Do the people of Gotham even want to be saved, or do they want to continue with the chaos? Will there be more sinful villains appearing? We'll find out one day in the future because this is the end of the video. And as I mentioned in the beginning, the links to the channel is in the description, and as always, my name is Estrella. Don't forget to like, subscribe, do that funny little notification thing. I have a Blue Sky account, leave a comment, and I better not catch you dying on me. Goodbye!